Okay guys, welcome back to the channel for another mainstay video on police interactions, specifically with PCSOs or Police Community Support Officers. We take a quick overview of that required by an officer engaging the standard operating procedure adopted by most force policies, namely to authenticate and verify, or put simply, to show an ID card and produce a designation card indicating the specific lawful powers delegated to the PCSO. In general, and we stress in general, there are approximately 20 standard powers and a list of discretionary powers which can vary within different force areas and/or local needs, so therefore it is important to establish the designated power. In effect, the engagement should equate to an interaction similar to a warranted officer, where most auditors establish the collar number, name and police station and verify or authenticate that by sight of a warrant card. A small sample of links are given beneath the video to various force policies throughout the UK on PCSO powers. The links are current as of July 24, but they may change or alter at any time, and therefore should only be taken as a guideline. Section 38 of the Police Reform Act 2002 gives a Chief Constable the power to delegate or designate to PCSOs who are actually employed by the PCC and under his control specific and limited powers, usually around antisocial behaviour and traffic. There are some designated roles which are specifically excluded, as per Schedule 10 of the Police Crime Act 2017, as per the slide. Section 42 of the Police Reform Act 2002 is the section relevant to auditors which requires the PCSO to produce his or her designation card. The wording of Section 42 should be noted carefully, as it does not necessarily extend to auditors approaching PCSOs and demanding to see a designation card, unless of course they are that person to whom the exercise of powers are being applied. Mindful of variation in force policy, some forces such as Kent accept whilst the PCSO is on duty, the issued card should be shown to any member of the public requesting to see it. Section 42(2) of the Police Reform Act 2002 refers to the correct wearing of uniform, which should be identified and described in the designation card itself. Potentially, an incorrectly dressed officer not meeting the requirements of Section 42 could support any head of claim on any contention arising. This laminated card, carried by a diligent PCSO, meets all of the criteria which follow when given and considered with ID and uniform. In the video descriptor below, there are various links to different force policies and PCSOs, powers and designations. West Yorkshire Police's force policy particularly lacks in clarity on this subject area. In summary, the first slide shows the general principle accepted in the majority of force policies, mindful of the word required within the meaning of the Police Reform Act 2002. However, there is a grey area around how some forces meet that obligation by referring to internet documents. In my opinion, it is necessary for the PCSO to satisfy the lawful grounds of his or her action at onset of any interaction, as required, which may be raising a vexed question on law as to whether or not that requirement was satisfied. In passing, it is also worth noting Section 46 of the Police Reform Act 2002 in the context of a PCSO overstepping the mark. Also mindful of the limits to designated powers given in Schedule 10 of the Police Crime Act 2017 in regard to terrorism. At this stage, we are aware that PCSOs have designated powers given to them via the Chief Constable, which are in fact limited to a significant extent, but nevertheless do exist, and they centre around relatively minor areas of law such as antisocial behaviour or minor traffic offences. However, we should be aware that PCSOs do have powers. Okay guys, so we have completed our objective on PCSO designation cards. In part 2 of the series, we may return expressly to powers of PCSOs in detail. We will quickly highlight a few brief slides relevant to the Police Reform Act by way of importance as follows. It is also worth pointing out why PCSOs are not significantly tasked with driving duties, which involve a higher level of training competency in respect of blue lit or emergency transport vehicles. If a PCSO has a dedicated form of transport, such as a rural force, it normally does not display blue lights and is without the appropriate lighting. There may be exceptions where an officer can drive a marked police car with blue lights, but in general, PCSO vehicles should have no blue lights unless the officer is trained and qualified to drive a vehicle of that nature. Okay guys, so we have come to the end of this topic, where you will find relevant and useful links beneath the video. We hope you have enjoyed the overview and have gained something from it. As always, please like, subscribe and share and help get the channel off the ground. Well, that's it until the next one, and there's just possibly one last thing to say.